Welcome to the Excelsior Health Podcast. This is the podcast for busy professionals, 40 plus, who are looking to prioritize strength training, healthy habits, and a positive environment so that way you can lose fat, build muscle, and transform your health. I'm your host, Coach Cory Fernandez.
Coach Susie.
What's up, peeps? How's everybody doing today?
We good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good.
Yeah.
All right, so this is our second episode, guys. Today, we got a good one for you. What we are going to be talking about is not so much calories, training, and all things like that. We're going to talk about your mindset towards your health. So let me ask you guys a question. Do you look at your health, as a expense, something that's an ongoing cost for you, or do you look at it as an investment? Right? An investment that's paying you dividends, or it's paying you a return, or it's helping you profit. A little bit of business terms there for you. But that's the question that we have for you guys today. So I'll give you guys a little bit of, not a story, but some insight. So what I do on a regular day basis is I don't coach majority of the sessions. We got an amazing team that, typically do most of that. But I do a lot of our transformation meetings. So what transformation meetings are is, we sit down with someone, we spend about 45 minutes, we learn about their past, their challenges, what they're looking for in a coach, in a program, and we essentially explain how we can help them if we think we can, and these are the ways that they can join our memberships. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the last part of the meeting is the memberships. And that's when everybody kind of sits up a little bit and it gets a little bit more serious, is how much is this going to cost? And I'll go through a meeting and I'll listen to someone, they'll get emotional. Like I'll see people have tears in their eyes, frustrated, getting Kleenex and talking about, they can't look at themselves in the mirror. They feel so slow and lethargic. Their mind, that's the word I hear all the time, my mindset, like I got to improve my mind. I don't feel good. But they say all these things that are like affecting them, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. And then when we go down to the membership, I see people's energy change a little bit. And then when they look at the price, sometimes they're just like, okay, let me get back to you. I don't know if I can do that. And don't get me wrong, there's sometimes you got to make a calculated decision and you got to think of, is this the place that's best for me? But when you're looking at a coaching program, it's always going to be an investment. And to me, I think because I've been doing this for so long and I've done a lot of investing in myself, my own personal education, I understand that. But sometimes it's a little bit frustrating for me that I'm like, man, you just explained to me how bad you're in pain, but you don't think you're worth $130 or $100 or $150 per week. Like you don't think you're worth that much. So that's what today's conversation is like, man, like, why is it that some people look at it as such an expense or a cost versus looking at it as an investment? So I don't know, Susie, for you to start, like, why do you think people look at whether it's a gym membership, equipment, online coaching, why do you think they look at it as such a what's the cost? What's the price?
I think people, in my opinion, want like a quick and easy fix. And the easy fix is what's the cheapest and what's the fastest. And I think a lot of the times people, they don't know what they don't know. So maybe they've never been to a gym before, so they can't compare the difference between having a coach versus having a trainer versus going to a group class. Right? So I think people just have a different perspective. And when they hear the cost, they try to find the same product for a cheaper price. Mm-hmm. Thinking like, I could go to Good Life and spend $200. Why do you guys cost this much? So I guess is people's experiences that they either experienced or maybe they haven't. Because we do get people who've never went to a gym at all before. So they don't really value what we offer.
Right. Yeah, so
I think so.
Even today, like what we're going to do with this podcast is we're going to actually take you guys through the different fitness programs, I guess you can say, or like facilities or vehicles for transformation that you can invest in. But I just want to kind of make that point is health is an investment. Like anything that has to do with your health, it's like the greatest investment you can make. Where a lot of us, we don't think twice, when it comes to, man, I got to go try the new bubble tea place, or there's this new food place out there. There's this
Get
new
your nails done.
dessert place. Those are expenses,
Yeah.
right? And like you said, getting my nails done or buying designer clothes. And trust me, I like nice stuff. So if you are someone out there that wants to drive the Maybach or the Mercedes or whatever, go for that. I'm all for that. Like I want to own some of those nice vehicles. If you like having your hair did, your nails did, you like wearing designer things, I am all for that. But that has to fall under the expense category. For a lot of people that are unhappy, depressed, overweight, or unhealthy, to me, it's almost like there's no option. Like you have to invest into your health, right? And for a lot of people, I would say probably 90% of people, I believe that they can afford to spend $400, $500, $600 a month on themselves. But typically what we got to do is we got to look into our spending habits, and we got to see that most of the time I'm spending $100, $125, $150 a week on food, on things that are taking me away from my goals. And here's another one that a lot of people don't talk about is like your Netflix subscription, your Disney subscription, your Paramount subscription. It's like all these things that if you add it up, like I'm sure you're going to get at least half of your membership.
I think, a good point for the investment part I forgot to mention is people are scared to invest because they know that they have to invest in themselves. And sometimes people don't have the confidence or the belief that they're able to sustain and invest to put in the work. So people like that, what's that word when you get that quick sensation or
A quick result?
No, not that quick. Like when you get your nails done and right away you already feel like, oh, you feel better.
Yeah.
That instant gratification. Right. So like it's investing in yourself, but it's you putting in the work to have to do it to get the results. So your health is not an instant gratification. It's a long-term thing.
Another thing that I want to be like, I don't want to come off as like a jerk and say, yeah, you idiots, you guys don't know how to invest in yourself. It's more, I guess the way I would say it is, I understand that in the fitness industry, it's hard to figure out what's good and what's not. So I can understand sometimes people are sitting down and they're just unsure. They're scared to make a mistake. They spent money on a personal trainer before and it didn't turn out. Yeah. They went to a gym and they never used it again. So I get that. I think you got to do your homework. You got to see like, man, is this a coach who helps people? What's their Google reviews? Take a tour, see, is this a place that you can see yourself in? What I'm saying is once a place checks all those boxes for you, are you ready to invest $400, $500, $600, $300, whatever it is, thousands of dollars into yourself? Because just making that switch of not saying, hey, what is this going to cost me? What's the price? It's more, when I invest this money into me, what in my life is going to improve? And I'll just give you guys examples. Because we've invested in ourselves, we've been able to become coaches, right? So I'm someone who I've paid coaches to train me. I'm not a coach who's never had some. I've paid thousands of dollars to work with other coaches to teach me how to train, right? But also in my business, I spend probably, at this point, probably over $40,000 a year on coaching and mentorship. But it's not a cost. It's an investment because the things that I get from that helps me earn more money, helps me transform my life, and helps me change other areas. So that's the first thing I guess in this episode we want you guys to understand is if you're looking to transform your health and your lifestyle, it's going to be an investment. And you should always just look at it is this $500, this $400, whatever the money amount is it giving me a return back? And a lot of the people that I think come into our program or places like this, yes, they're getting results. Mentally, they're more sharp. but it's also the environment, right? Like the relationships
Yeah.
that they build. So yeah, think of it in that sense, right? So what we want to do today is let's get it going. Is let's walk you through, guys. Now that you understand, hey, yes, I got you, Cory. I'm not gonna keep thinking in this kind of broke mentality or poor mentality of expense. I'm gonna think about investing in my health. Where should I start to invest? All right. So we're gonna go through different, I guess, coaching experiences or fitness experience. So number one is, let's say you're someone who wants to work out at home. Okay, so let's go over the pros and cons and what maybe that investment might be. So from your point of view, Susie, what would be some pros to working out at home?
Convenience, saving time, saving gas, waking up and you're already there, having all the equipment you need. So that could be a pro, not having to get ready and driving.
Okay, what else?
That's all I can think about.
See.
I'm not someone who trains at home, so there's not too many pros on that part.
She's never worked out at home.
Yeah, I've done like Shanti fitness stuff at home.
Okay, so I think the main thing that you said is, hey, convenience.
Yeah.
You know, like let's say you are someone who's, you know, we have a lot of business owners and busy professionals. Let's say you are locked in, tons of virtual meetings, kid commitments. It's really simple for you to block out 45 minutes, maybe go into your basement and then knock out a workout.
Yeah.
If that's all you have is 45 minutes, 30 minutes. So that would definitely be a pro. What else? So convenience, time.
Yeah.
Trying to think of some other.
I guess the pro is you save money too.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we'll talk about money in a second, but
at home.
You save money, I guess, from gas and going into an actual place where you're spending on a membership.
Yeah.
That would definitely be one. All right, cons. What would be some cons you would go with?
Boring. Nobody there challenging you. Nobody there spotting you. You don't know if you're doing proper form. Maybe you go downstairs and you stay for 5 minutes and you're like, screw this shit, I'm going back upstairs. So the accountability. But also I think the con is like, you should separate your home and your health like in a different environment, because a lot of the times like you're not going to be motivated training when, you know, you have toys everywhere or the house is a mess. You need to set yourself in a different environment where it mentally prepares you like, okay, this is my training, this is my work. And usually your home and your training are two separate places.
Good point.
Right.
So just unpack that a little bit is like, you know, the typical things people hear when they work out by themselves is, I don't have the accountability. Maybe I'm not pushing myself as hard, the discipline to work out. But I think a big point that what you're saying is separating like home and work life from like fitness environment. And that's one of the biggest things that we hear in our meetings here is, I'm just at home all day. I work from home. I don't have enough social interaction. Like, I'm just not motivated, because sometimes, you know, people's setup for their gym, it might be just in their office. Like they might have like the dumbbells on the floor and the Peloton, and like, that's where they work out, right? So it could be easy to look at that stuff and be like, no, I'm not doing that right now. I'm just going to continue working.
Yeah.
Right. Or going into the basement or garage, maybe it's cold. So those are some of the, I guess, downsides of it. Other things that I would have you guys think about if you are going to work out at home is there is an initial investment that I think is still worth it is, hey guys, gym equipment is not cheap, right? So you got to buy dumbbells, barbells, kettlebells, and it depends on how in depth you want your training to be. You know, if you look around our facility, we got a lot of toys that we play with, right? So could someone get by with just resistance bands and kettlebells and dumbbells? Yeah, you could have a sufficient workout, but you're not going to have as diverse of a training regimen, I would say. So there will be a upfront initial costs, which could be thousands of dollars depending on what you get. And the thing that I often hear from a lot of people is, hey, I have this treadmill, I have this machine, I have these things, but I never use them. So that's one thing that you can do. But again, if you're someone who feels like you are very disciplined, you know what you can do on your own, you can get your 30 to 40 minute workout by yourself or using like a Peloton or online coach, hey, maybe working out at home Could be an option for you. All
Yeah.
right. Okay, so next one I would say is let's look at the working out in a commercial gym experience. So investment wise, you're going to have to invest in a membership. So I
Hmm.
want you to think of the lower end commercial gyms. What would come to mind would be like Planet Fitness, Fit for Less,
Yeah.
maybe the community center gym. So a lot of these places could be anywhere from like $15, $20, $40 a month. I think that's the range. So
Hmm.
again, like spending $40 a month, that's like that shouldn't even be a question for you. That's more than worth it to be able to go to a facility and work out.
Yeah.
Now, what do you get? Like typically, so if I'm spending $20 to go to Planet Fitness, what am I gonna get?
The main thing you're gonna get is access to all the machines. So when you go to, I used to be one of those. I used to go to Good Life. Is there's lots of cardio machines. So when you go there, there's a treadmill, an elliptical, a stairmaster, a bike. So you have access to all those machines. And usually when you go there, they're not really busy. So there's always availability.
When's the last time you've been to a commercial gym?
I I
It's
don't
always
know.
busy. Well, it depends if you go to rush hour.
Yeah, but yeah,
Okay, so you're basically saying you have machines. So that's kind of what we're going to think of is
yeah,
in these more lower budget ones, it's you're investing in the use of equipment, right? So you can go there and use some pretty nice equipment, right? Whether it's treadmills, steppers,
mm-hmm,
bench press machines, like that's typically what it's for, right? So now what are the pros? Is you don't have to pay for that equipment and have it at your house and store it. That's one
yeah,
pro. Um, for the most part, you have a pretty diverse amount of tools that you can use. Um, you get out of your house, right? You're in a different environment,
mm-hmm,
right? And you get to see people working out. You make some relationships if you actually have a good environment that you're training at.
yeah.
What would you say are some cons of that?
I think the cons could be not having like a training routine. So like when you go in, you might just be exercising but not really training. So it could be, you could be there for 2 hours but not be efficient with your time and your workout if you're doing like 2 hours of cardio, which I used to be those people. So I know exactly, those type of people, but you're not getting the results. Sometimes people think or have that misconception that if I burn this amount of calories, I'm losing weight, or if I burn this amount of calories, I'm getting results, which really is the opposite because you're not building any strength. Um, the other con, it could be intimidating when you go to, a fitness facility and you walk in and, you see, either men or these, in shape fitness people, and you're going in a sweater and, you're kind of looking down because you can't do the same weights or the same exercise or moves that they're doing. So it could be scary for a
Yeah,
lot of people.
I feel like the places that we're talking about, especially like the community center, I could be wrong though, it's been a while. The
Mm,
community center, the Planet Fitness, the Fit for Less, I feel like those places are less scary. It's kind of people that don't know what they're doing, but they're just kind of going around. I don't think it's as scary, but like you said, is you're on your own,
yeah.
right? So cons of that is you don't know what program to follow. They might not have maybe group classes that you could jump into.
Yeah.
There's all these machines that could be a little bit intimidating that you're like, should I do this today? Should I do that today? And again, as always, you don't have the accountability and the support.
Yeah.
But if you are someone who is regimented, you have the expertise, you can go spend $30 a month and you get equipment and
Yeah.
you get out of your house, you get a good workout in, you do what you got to do, and it could be very beneficial for you. So I
Mhm.
personally feel like nobody should ever doubt spending 20, 30, 40, $50 a month on a gym membership to go to a place to take care of yourself. I think it's an
Yeah.
amazing investment. Um, Now, moving over. So if we go from now these kind of low end commercial big box gyms is what we call it. Now let's think about basically high end commercial gyms. So I would more put these at a price point of like 100 to like $200 a month. So some that come to mind for me would be like Lifetime Fitness,
Body,
Body.
Sky Fitness, maybe? I don't know. I've never been. if they have that.
I don't know what that would be. I think that would be in
Okay.
the middle somewhere.
Okay.
But like, think of these as places that it's more the prestige, the aroma, like
The amenity.
the amenities. So one, they do a really good job of making the places look fantastic for the
Mhm.
most part. You could put maybe Good Life in there too. I know Good Life
Or
is really,
LA.
yeah,
In
they're
the
more in
middle.
the middle, but
Yeah.
again, they put more of a look to their facility.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of amenities. So it might be like massage chairs, rock
Swimming
climbing,
pool.
swimming pools,
Team rooms.
all these things that you
Yeah.
could distract yourself with. No, I'm kidding. They could be good too. But basically, when you go to these places, it's more of an investment, right? So you're looking at $100 to upwards to $200.
Yeah.
Now, what are some of the good things that you think you can get from a place like that?
I think, like you mentioned, like the amenities. So if I want to go, maybe I'm going not to even train or work out. Maybe I'm just going to use the pool or to relax in the sauna. Like at least, it's included in my membership.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a con.
I think nicer, like could be nicer equipment, right?
Yeah.
So equipment that are a little bit more luxurious and look good. That's another one.
Yeah. I think if you're single, the con could be most likely you could walk around and, check out other single people. Sometimes people go to the gym just to like mingle.
So people don't check out married people either?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what single people do these days, but that could be a place where people go. I see girls on Instagram. Social media is a big thing in that, but people post and they're wearing makeup. Their hair is always done and they're posting their video at these places.
Mm.
And I don't even know if they work out or not, but like they're doing their selfies and maybe there's guys checking them out. So I'm saying it could be a place of social.
Yeah, I think
right.
For me, when I look at those type of places, I do think about like potential networking because usually those places are higher network individuals, right? So, because you're spending more to be in a certain environment. So you might be around some of those people, depending on, again, where it is. I think that's a pro, to be honest. Other than that, I think now at those places, now this is where you start to see more extra services. So some of like the lower end commercial places, they won't even have personal training.
Yeah.
Right? Because they just want people to come in, have a membership, use the equipment, that's it. Some of these places now you might have personal trainers available. They might have
group classes too.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even call it like group classes. It's more like, I don't know,
like I used to do it like circuit, body pump, like
so yeah,
kickboxing. They would have those little classes.
Yeah, so it is group classes, but I guess what I'm trying to say, it's not like a coach that you know.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's usually like an instructor. So you might step into the class, they're on stage, and they're like instructing you, but they don't know like, hey, Susie, Cory, let's go do this. Like it's not like that deep of a relationship. They're just instructing you through the workout.
Yeah.
So they have some of those things that you could jump into as well. So I guess what are some of the cons of that?
The cons, maybe like you just said, nobody really knows who you are. So they wouldn't know my fitness level. They wouldn't know if I'm even capable of doing that move. They wouldn't be able to prescribe my weight for me. It's me kind of figuring out on my own, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and let's just go with the flow.
Yeah. So same challenges as the other ones is, what's my workout program that I'm following? Am I going to be disciplined to show up to this place? Am I going to train at the right intensity? Am I going to be inspired to change the way I'm eating when I'm not here? So those are all still the challenges that we've already explained. Now, I think another con that is to think about is, as you're investing more, what's the return that you're getting? So if I'm spending now $200 a month, $100 a month, $150 for this nice amenities, this nice environment, but I don't feel like I'm getting any benefits, I'm skipping my workouts, I'm not really training that hard. That's when you can start to look at your wallet and say, man, I'm spending $100 to $200 a month and I'm not really doing anything beneficial for my health.
Yeah.
Right? So that's that bucket there. Now, moving into another bucket, this is where I would start to say, which I think everybody should invest in this, to be honest, is coaching now. So mainly what we've talked about is like memberships, kind of facilities where you can rent the equipment. This next bracket is what I would say is coaching. So I think a next introduction in terms of investment would be like boot camps or like group training. So I'm going to kind of like package these up. Let's say boot camps. Boot camps, think outdoors, circuit style, 30 people together. Then other things that come to mind would be like CrossFit. CrossFit was super popular from like the mid 2000s kind of to like 2015. That's when it exploded and it started to kind of taper off now. Things like Orange Theory Fitness, F45, those are kind of the most popular group fitness type of brands that I would probably say that exists out there.
Yeah.
So typically when you're looking at investing in those could be on the low end, like on a boot camp could be like a very low boot camp could be like maybe $150 per month. But then on the higher end, like I would say like places like maybe like a F45 might be closer to $300 a month in that kind of range.
Yeah.
So for you, what would you say would be maybe benefits?
I think the benefit is maybe, like you mentioned, is in a group environment. So like the people that you're training with, you might get familiar with them because you're seeing them more often, that you might feel like, oh, like I belong, like I'm a part of a community, because you see the same people coming to these certain classes because it is smaller a little bit as opposed to like going to Good Life or LA.
Yeah, so that like
Right.
more of that community sense.
Yeah.
Where essentially basically you're not just some random person, where there's 1,000 members, nobody says hi to you. Nah, maybe you see a couple faces on a regular basis. Even though it's still usually a big group, you get a sense of belonging, What else would be some benefits? Group classes you've done
Yeah.
in the past.
I feel like in group classes, like the energy is always good. Like whoever the instructor or the coach is, like they're putting on a show. So like when you're there, you might know them, you might not, but expect to have high energy. So that way, whether it's a sweaty workout, you feel like you're motivated and you're pumped to get through that hour.
I think that's the number one.
Yeah.
Is just the energy.
Yeah.
It's usually loud music. You got people moving around. You just feel like you got to move.
Yeah.
Like usually if it's a good place, you got high fives, good energy, sweating and smiling. Like that's what I think of when it's like big groups.
And I do feel like when I did do it, like it was motivating because you don't want to be the one that stands out to quit.
Yeah.
So like if you're doing kickboxing for an hour, like you can't run and hide in the corner. Like once you're in that room, you can't leave.
Yep.
So,
And then I think another benefit is, again, now it depends on the place you go to. Like some places you're going to have an instructor. Like they're just someone who's basically going 3, 2, 1. And then like you're just moving through the motions. Other places, they're going to have a good coach. That's someone who cares and is going to watch you in your form and make sure you're doing things the right way. Yeah. But if I had to go now transition into like what are like the cons, the challenges of this environment, is a lot of the time the coaching is very low level. And it's because imagine when you have 30 people in a class, it's tough. Unless you're a very, very skilled coach, it is hard to coach that many people at once. So typically the easiest thing to do is to put people in a circuit, make them all do the same thing, and not really focus on form or strength training. It's focused on sweating and how hard you can make something. That's typically what the fitness industry does, and a lot of these group places do. It's move fast, sweat, make it hard, and then people think that it's going to be good for them. And so for a lot of challenges, like especially the population that we're trying to help with this podcast, is if you're overweight, you're in your late 30s, you're in 40s, you're in 50s, you usually have a high stress environment. The worst thing you can do is go into an environment where you have bad form, you're going nonstop without rest, and you don't feel confident and just go nuts. That's a recipe for you being even more stressed, you getting yourself injured, but then also you wasting time because you're actually not going to see results that way. And like, for example, Susie, why would they not see results? So if I'm in a certain environment, why would I not see results?
Because you're not really strength training. You're just burning calories. And a good point that you were saying is a lot of the people we do, help is people that maybe they play sports before or they have some type of injury that recovering that they need that one-on-one coaching because, we're able to modify different exercise for them to still do and still get results. So when you go to a boot camp, they're not going to stop and look at everybody, all 30 people, and say, okay, you're doing this because you're injured. Okay, you're going to do this. No, let's go 3, 2, 1. Everyone does the same thing.
And so even just recently,
Right.
we had someone join the program, and that's what they explained. They just said, hey, I just felt so discouraged that I'm going around the circuit, and one, I don't understand what this screen is telling me to do. Like, I could see it, but I don't know if I'm doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should pick up the weights. By the time I'm figuring out it's 3, 2, 1, move to the next spot, and I'm getting frustrated now.
Yeah.
I feel discouraged. So I know a lot of people, that's their experience, but what they think is they just think, well, I must just not be fit enough to do this. Like, I'm too far gone.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this anymore. And that's not the case. It's just you need a different environment. And I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think it's necessary that they need one-on-one. They just need coaching.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like coaching, someone to prescribe and give them the different modifications.
Yeah. So, again, I would say that if you go into a group program, you're spending $200, $300 a month. I definitely think it's better than doing nothing on your own.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely in the right direction. But I think it serves more a younger population that is maybe a little bit more mobile, a little bit more fit. Maybe they've dabbled in sports and they can pick things up easier.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are someone, again, who's 40 plus, 50s, you're overweight, it's been more than 3 years since you've worked out, it's been years, a decade, you're coming back from pregnancy, whatever it is, that's not what you should focus on. You shouldn't be focusing on nonstop, high intensity cardio in a big group of people where you're not getting coaching.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's the main points there.
Yeah.
And I would say no disrespect to places that are CrossFit and things like that. I think it depends on the place you go. There are some great CrossFit coaches and programs, but personally, I would say most of the time, these places that I just said, they're not going to serve the 40 plus population that is just overweight and trying to kickstart their journey. All right. Now, moving over on the more higher end of investment is one-on-one personal training. So I've done one-on-one personal training in the past. I've been a one-on-one personal trainer myself. So I have a lot of insight in that. Now you're definitely looking at an investment. Mm-hmm. Okay. So where we live in, the GTA, Toronto, it's normal to invest anywhere from $75 to $100 per session. And recently I was actually at a business conference for gym owners. And I was talking to another gym owner, and he has a studio in Toronto. Mm-hmm. And we're just talking about our business, and I was just asking him questions. And he's like, yeah, typically people will pay $150 and up to work with me one-on-one. And I was looking at him and I was like, really? Because I wouldn't pay him $150 at all to work with him one-on-one. But that's how much it is in certain areas. Mm-hmm. So for places like Toronto downtown, bigger cities like Vancouver, Los Angeles, New York, the cost is going to be even more up. But to put in perspective, if you're working with a pretty established coach, $75 to $100 is a very reasonable amount that what you would expect per session. Mm-hmm. So definitely an investment. What would you say are some benefits to one-on-one personal training?
The benefits is you have a coach. You build a relationship because it's one-on-one. So, if you're my coach, I get to see you and, you know exactly where I'm starting from, what I could do. And I guess it's the trust in the relationship, and it could be more personalized.
Yep.
For my goals.
Yeah. Sometimes you're getting really great coaching. If someone's there with you the entire session, they should not be missing anything. They should be on you, right? Prescribing you the exact weights that you should be using, teaching you, whether it's from the warm up to mobility to what strength exercises, cool down. You're getting a lot of attention in that time. So you should see results, especially in terms of in the session.
Yeah.
Now, what would be any other benefits you can think of? I think actually another benefit that you said is the relationship. Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely a benefit is you get to really know somebody because you're probably going to spend 1, 2, maybe 3 hours a week with that person. So it's like you have a little bit more accountability in someone who is looking after you. Because I think for most personal trainers, the pressure is if that person is not seeing results, especially like in the session, if they don't feel stronger, but also outside of the session, they're not going to sustain that price for a long time.
Mm-hmm. I think the other pro would be the convenience. Like if I was the customer and I'm paying you, it'll be on my terms. So if I'm like, hey, can you come Monday at 3? You can't say no to me. I'm paying you.
Well,
so
that's the thing.
that could be a benefit.
But that's where I say that's
for the customer, I'm saying though.
I think it's a perceived benefit, but it's not a reality. Because as a personal trainer, there's only so many hours in the day. Mm-hmm. And I know from experience, I used to coach almost 12 hours. I mean, it'd be like from 6 a.m. to 12, and then from like 4 p.m. to 10 o'clock at night. So it's like, let's say that's a normal shift for a very high demand, great quality personal trainer. But for whatever reason, you got to go pick up the kids, something happened, there was a meeting you had to take. Now you can't move around your schedule because they're full.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it is hard to maneuver your schedule. You're kind of trying to work that out with that one person, and there's only so many hours in the day. And especially if they have a family and they have other things that they're doing, that becomes tough. Yeah. Right? So I think the schedule can be very challenging when you're working with personal trainers. My also thing is, from being the coach and also someone, it could get boring. So when you do real strength training, especially, you have rest. So let's say, Susie, you're doing a deadlift, right? We're doing 5 reps. Mm-hmm. After you hit that 5th rep and we're pushing at a high intensity, what do you got to do after that?
Conversate.
You got to rest.
Oh yeah, rest.
But rest,
conversate.
But that's typically what happens is after
my rest.
During the rest, it's just conversation.
Yeah. So
it might be like, hey, so how's the wife doing, and how the kids again? Hey, what about those Raptors? Those Raptors are doing good. So it's just a lot of it's just small talk, and that could be good, but sometimes it can be awkward. Sometimes it can be boring compared to when you're in a small team. And now you're focused on somebody else and you're encouraging them. It just makes the session go by more smoothly, right? So those are like any other cons that you can think of with personal training?
The con could be like, what if you were my coach and you got sick and I wanted to train and you're not available now? Yeah. So then I lose my session because of that.
That's a big point. It goes back to the schedule, right? The convenience. Like, I'm a personal trainer and I'm going on vacation, which that's the hard thing for personal trainers. They never could go on trips. They can never take time off because then they don't make money. That's the hardest thing about it, right? Unless they're working for a company, and it's rare that it's like that. But if I'm a freelance personal trainer doing everything by myself, is you're stuck to that person's schedule and availability, right?
And I feel like anything could happen even with time. I'm stuck in traffic. My car broke down. My kids got sick. Like, there's so many nuance in between where sometimes whatever you're scheduled for doesn't actually really happen that time.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I hate it. As a coach, I'm totally against personal training. I don't like it. But as a client, I can see the benefit in some areas because you can work with someone who's really good, showing you the ropes. It speeds up the time. But I think the biggest challenge that I find for most busy professionals and parents that have made that decision that, hey, I want to invest in myself, now there becomes a certain limit for certain people. Yeah. So now, again, if I'm spending $100 for a session, now maybe I'm like, okay, yes, that experience, it's amazing when I'm there, but I can only afford to do it once a week. So now once a week, you have this terrific workout, this great experience, and you're supposed to go do these things on your own, but like you don't have the discipline to do it, right? Maybe you do it 2 times a week, but for a lot of people, now you're getting to $200 a week. I can see how that becomes difficult. Some people, it's no problem, right? And it's like, and it's an investment that works. But for a good population, like with your mortgage and your bills and vacation and your kids' extracurriculars, that's when you start to look at that and say, oh, is this an investment or is this an expense for me now? So I'm sure there's other, things that you can look at. You can look at online training. So online training now can be anywhere from, I would say to have a coach, it could be 300 to even in the thousands. But typically online training for most people is you're not necessarily really getting coaching on the training, like in the experience. You're more getting coaching on the accountability and the lifestyle. So that's another benefit that I think, because a lot of times people sign up to personal trainers thinking that that's going to be the thing that makes them lose body fat.
Mm-hmm.
Where really, when you go see a coach, what you're really doing is you're investing in this training experience is going to help me move. It's going to help me get strong. It's going to help me relieve some stress. The whole losing body fat and really transforming, that happens through your lifestyle choices. So it's what you eat, how you sleep, how you manage your stress, the steps you get. And that's where sometimes an online coach, if they're a really good coach, that's where they can kind of give you that support and that guidance.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the downside of that is, again, you're left to your own to, hey, here's the program, go follow the program. Maybe you got to do that at the gym where, again, you don't feel comfortable, or you got to do that at home, where your kid's running around driving you nuts.
Yeah.
So last option, which, I would argue biasly is the best option, is what we call personal strength training. So this is something that we kind of created back in, we introduced it in 2018, I think. And I remember specifically, I was at a staff meeting with my team. There was like 14 of us at the time, because at this time we were mainly group training. But the difference is we weren't like a boot camp where it was just cardio. We knew that strength training was the way. So we had strength training, but it was in a large environment. So we would have 21 people in the class, right? One coach, two coaches. It was literally controlled chaos. I'm so proud of that we even did that.
Yeah.
But I look back and I'm like, I don't know how the hell we did that, because we still provided great results, but it was just chaotic. But in that experience, once I remember being in a team meeting explaining to my team that, hey guys, we're gonna make a shift, because part of our mission here is to save lives and to provide just this amazing experience for people, but I don't feel like we're doing it the best way. And we had to make a tough decision. We said, hey, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to start to eliminate some of our lower attendance classes. And we're going to open up this new service called personal strength training. And it's going to give people an environment to train with the coach, but in a smaller environment where they could specialize on strength training, but get more attention, more coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And then I told people the price. I said, coaches, yeah, instead of, $200 a month, people are going to pay $500, $600 a month. And all my coaches looked at me like, this guy's going to ruin the business. Everybody's going to leave. And we introduced it. And then again, right in the beginning, people are like, yeah, I want more attention. I want more attention.
Yeah.
It took some time, because at that time, especially in 2017, like group fitness was like the thing. Like everybody was just doing groups. But when COVID happened, it was a beautiful opportunity for us to go all in on something that we felt super passionate about. So we literally revamped our whole business because of our mission and our core values. And we said, hey, you know what? We might lose some amazing clients that we love and we appreciate, but this is the way for us, where we want to have actually less clients, where we can give them a better service, better coaching, so that they can get better results.
Mm-hmm.
So what personal strength training is, think of it as 6 people with one coach. And they're in the same session, and those 6 people, they're following their own program. So their own combination of workouts that we program for them that reflects their goals. So they don't have to do what someone else is doing. They can do the workout that reflects their goals, and they can do it on the schedule that they want.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the things that would suck about group fitness that we didn't mention is, let's say for whatever reason you miss Monday. What happens? I miss my Monday. What happens?
You miss your workout, like your upper body day or that specific workout you wanted to do.
Which, if you're training properly as a guy, that means you miss chest day, man. Or if as a girl, what would that be?
Leg day. You miss building the booty.
So basically, whatever your favorite workout is, you might lose that. And then now you're off balance for that week and you missed out a week of progressive overload. So that was one thing that we realized. We're like, no, we got to change that.
Yeah.
And just to be honest, when you have 20 something people in a room doing deadlifts, back squats, hip thrusts, all the things that everybody sees that they think is cool, it's dangerous to do that thing with a lot of people around. You want to do that in a small environment and making sure you're getting the right form. So that's the service that we created. And that's what we feel when we're looking at our avatar, who is the person who's listening to this podcast, is, yeah, you know what? I'm in my 30s. I'm in my 40s. I'm in my 50s.
Yeah.
I've gained weight. I got stress in my life. And I want to lose fat. I want to build muscle and I want to feel good. That person is going to thrive so much quicker and they're going to get such better results in that environment. So like give maybe some insight to like what would be the pros of personal strength training. And I can go over some of the cons.
Do. I think the pro is having a coach who actually knows you, who knows your goals, who knows what you could do. And we're also able to modify if you do have any injuries, or if, let's just say, you're not at that level yet, we're able to give different progressions on how to build those weights up. So eventually you're able to lift and do that exercise with great form and great intensity. You're going to be in a positive environment. So people supporting you, cheering you on. You're going to have a partner who's going to keep you accountable because they're counting your reps, you're counting their reps, and you build a lot of positive relationships because the people that you train with, they're going to be the people who's a part of this, what we call familia. So you'll see them inside the dojo, which is inside our gym, but then also we do different events. We like to train hard, but we also like to have fun. So, you'll see these people inside the dojo, but maybe you're going on walks with them. Maybe you're meeting them at our next party, whatever it is.
No, I don't want you to go talk about the program. I feel like you're mixing. She's telling you on our program. Okay. So if you want to sign up to Training for Warriors, you can sign up to Training for Warriors Saga, no problem. www.wsaga.com. Click the link, book your free consultation. I'm talking about more like the service.
Oh, the service though. Okay, so
we're talking about personal strength training itself. Yes. Like, what's the pros for them? So you said, strength training.
You have your coach. The pros is you get to customize your workouts. So my goals is going to be different than Coach Cory's goal. So I get to look and say, hey, you know what? I want to focus on building my glutes more, my lower body. So these are the workouts that I'll be doing, right? The benefit for us too is we have an app that you're able to track your weight. So when you come in, you don't have to bring a book or a binder or a pencil. You have your phone that has your app and you can see the history of what you did last week. So that way, in your mind, when you come to your session, you have a goal set in place in mind of this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm going to build up to.
Okay. So I'll unpack that a little bit. Again, main things, you're going to be doing strength training. You're going to have a coach, much smaller environment. You have flexibility with the programming. You have the attention. You can maximize the workouts. Now, other things that I would say like the other pros would be just schedule convenience. So, in a place that has personal strength training, you should see a diverse schedule. So for example, from 5:30 a.m., 6:30, 8:30, 9:30, 12 o'clock, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, our facility is open where people can have that service. So maybe you train regimentally at like Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 a.m., but you have a bad night of sleep, you can cancel that. And then, hey, you can pull up to the noon session and still be on track and get your training in. So I think that's one of the biggest advantages to the service is you could just make it work with your life. You're not stuck to somebody else's schedule. You're more stuck to your own schedule.
We're open 7 days too. So, Monday to Sunday, we do have classes.
Yeah. I think other benefits, if I'm just thinking about the service, is because it is a higher investment, so typically you're going to find, depending on where you go, you can see as low as probably $300. But for us, our price range is $500, $600. We have higher level accountability programs that are up to $1,000 a month. But specifically in this area, $500 to $600, you're going to see higher, I don't want to say quality people, but I think people that are on the same mission. So again, you're going to see people that maybe they are, just moms and dads that maybe they don't work, but like, man, they're just trying to be the best mom and dad that they can be. And that's why they're investing in this program to better themselves. You're going to come across people that are just so good at their career, but they haven't maybe applied it into their fitness journey. But once they get the strategies, they're going to take that work ethic in their field and they're going to put it into their fitness journey. You're going to meet business owners that travel the world. And it's just like the amount of cool people that we have that come in here, it expands your network. So not only are you coming to work on yourself, but you just get to meet better, higher quality people, which I think that's a added bonus that maybe doesn't impact losing weight and stuff, but it definitely impacts your social circle.
And I think the other pro is the results that you get.
Yep.
Because you have the accountability, you have the environment, you have the coaching, you have the tools. So, if you have all those things hand in hand, is you just have to show up. And then the rest, like, we guide you and help support you through your journey. So I think, lots of people get results because of the tools that we provide, right?
And even if I were to give you if we break it down, so like I was saying, $75 to $100 per session is a typical one-on-one experience, which again, I think it's worth it if you have the right coach. But let's say you're trying to make a regimen where you want to train 4 days a week. For a lot of people, that would be difficult to spend $400 a week, right? It just depends. In a personal strength training session, let's say the membership, our lowest membership that we have right now is $520 a month. So if someone comes 4 sessions per week, you're basically spending $32.50 per session. Like, to me, there's very few things that you could spend money on that's $32.50 that's better than an hour session of taking care of yourself, working out, sweating, lifting heavy weights, getting a positive reinforcement from a coach, building relationships, pumping the music. Like, you can't beat that. Where most of the time, where we go back to what we started the podcast, is I spend $32 for food. That makes my stomach hurt and makes me like shit myself later on. That's no problem. Or if I go to LCBO on a Friday and I go pick up a bottle of liquor because I got people coming over, there's no problem. We'd be spending $50 on like Ciroc or anything like that. So that's the thing that I want everyone to understand, at least from today's conversation, is your health is your greatest asset. It can make you money. It can make you live longer. It can amplify every aspect of your life. So hopefully today, through this conversation, guys, you just at least saw that, you know what? Even though you're recommending to do this, I'm going to go work out at home. And I'm going to spend that money and I'm going to work out at home because I can make sense. It's an investment. Or maybe for you right now, you're like, okay, I'm going to listen to this podcast and I'm going to get a lot of the nutritional benefits and the stress management tools, and I'm going to go work out at the lower end commercial gym because that's all I can afford right now, right? But hopefully a lot of you guys can see is that there's a better way than the traditional, let me go into a group fitness program, let me get lost in the mix, just doing high intensity cardio. Man, let me not just spend once a week on personal training and not get results. What we have here, personal strength training, I can make a prediction that the best gyms or coaching programs, that's the number one service that you're going to see over the next 5 years. Because you're going to see, everybody's going to say, small environment, strength training, coaching, that's what you're going to see. But we're really proud that we've been doing this since literally 2018. And now, it's been probably a good 5 years of, I don't want to say perfecting it because we still have a lot of ways that we got to make it better, but we're doing it at a really, really high level that's providing a good service.
Yeah.
So anything, final thoughts?
No, I think this is the best service that you could do, especially if you want to get the results that you want.
All right. So listen, main point, guys, hey, your health is an investment. Make sure you guys are investing in your health. If right now you can't afford any of those memberships at this time, is listen to this podcast. We're going to drop 2 episodes a week, and we're going to be sharing, the different pillars, when it comes to your mindset, your environment, your nutrition habits, your rest and recovery, and training strategies, so that way you guys can get some results. I'm Coach Cory.
I'm Coach Susie.
Beasting.